Hey everybody, it's the 20th of November, 2024. This is PPBL Live Coding from Gimbalabs and friends. We get together on Wednesdays at 14:30 UTC to build stuff and figure stuff out together. I was just sharing with everybody right before we went live that we're going to start Aiken PBL live coding sessions in about 2 weeks on Tuesday, December 3rd. So just check the Gimbalabs calendar if you have questions about that, and I'll make sure to announce that again at the end of this session. But while we were doing our opening check-in, Harsha, you mentioned you're working through course module 201 and you ran into some blockers.
Yes. One second, I'm just sharing the screen. Are you able to see my screen?
I think
Yes.
we,
Yep.
yep.
Okay. Would you so this is where I'm just trying to compile it. I have the PPBL 2024 front end on my desktop. npm install work, but npm run build is giving this error on line 176 for the form. Um, I'm guessing it is.
Yeah, let's find that.
So this one right here.
And if you scroll up to the top of the error, what's the first thing it says? Mm, Type,
Failed
type
to
error.
compile. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. So this is most likely because there's a mismatch between what we're passing to the form and what we actually need. Um, I'm just opening it up on my end here too.
Mhm.
Oh, that's a you got an LLM
It's
chat
it's cu- it's cursor. Yeah.
cursor. That's what this is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
You like
uh-huh.
it?
What's up?
Do you like
Do I like it? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it works so much better on a Mac, but yeah, on Linux it's okay because it's really hacky. Like it's not just like install an app and it runs.
mhm.
All right. Why are we getting a weird type thing here? Do you have the latest version of this? Because I'm trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah. I did like a git pull. Maybe I'll also do it on.
it.
So making sure that you've got the latest
Yeah.
files,
Yeah. Yeah.
Gimbal Labs. Oh,
I'll do a pull. One second.
So yeah, you forked pretty recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
but some of these, I noticed that what's
okay.
do me a favor and back in GitHub,
Mhm.
what is the last updated date on that SRC directory? Just it's gonna be last week. Okay, so you have those. Everything else, right, is much older. Um, Back in VS Code, can you run npm install just to make sure we have all the necessary dependencies?
Yeah.
Ooh. Is that something good to do like periodically, or is there it's like an update or an upgrade?
Whenever, yeah, whenever either packages are updated or the developers of the project you're working with add new dependencies, they have to be installed, right? So
And
they'll
then,
show up in the package JSON file, but they won't automatically be loaded into your local
right.
project.
And if you do a git pull, it won't necessarily because those are generally in the git ignore.
Git put right, exactly. Your node directory is git ignored, and it's all just you have the package JSON as the recipe for what needs to be downloaded into that folder.
Yeah. Now, what does this say here? It says,
It says we're up to date, and it didn't look like, well, so try it again though. Do an npm run build now just to see if that made a difference. And then we'll go look at it from a different perspective.
is this where the error was?
Yeah, this is where the
Yes,
error
it looks
happens.
like we're okay, we got past it.
No, the error usually comes up right after this.
But if you look, oh shoot, you're right. Okay, okay. All right.
Oh,
What
man.
does it say again now? Okay, so now we're saying we're mapping over things. This is something to do with the form, and we're minting. Okay. You know what it is? Okay. The results we are getting. All right, so can you minimize the terminal and let's look closely at the code. The error is on 176. If you highlight the word form with the capital F, yeah, that's fine. And then our form is defined up above. Look for the line that says use form up on line 57.
Uh-huh.
What is missing? You see, so right here, we're saying we're using the React hook form library, which provides this hook use form on line 57. And we're saying,
Yeah.
okay, in our form, we're going to have one field called token alias. That's where the user is going to type the name of the token they want. And then we use the package Zod to help with form input validation. And this ensures that if you look at lines 51 through 55, we set up token alias to be a string and only a string that must be at least 2 characters in length. And if we don't have that, we won't go a step further. So we then on line 58, we say, okay, use the Zod resolver to resolve against the schema that we wrote on lines 51 to 55 in a form where the default values have an empty string for token alias. But for some reason, on line 176, we're getting this error.
What if you? Mhm.
Type the form component. Yeah. That could be. Try that suggestion. So
This one?
on my side, all of this is just being taken care of, and somehow the type of form is not what TypeScript expects. Yeah, well, but do we need that? Yeah, infer.
What what is
Infer.
it asking for? What is this? What is the suggestion saying?
Um, I'm trying to figure that out. So it's basically using Z to figure out the type issue, but I'm not sure what exactly
And
it's
you see how
doing.
we're already using z.infer on line 57.
Yeah.
And what this does is it says, okay, on line 51, you created this thing called form schema. And what is it? It's a z.object. And when you build, the Z is just for Zod. It's imported at the top of the file. Okay. When you build an object with Zod, it provides another method called infer that it says, hey, for that object you made form schema, let's just assume the type of it is aligned with the schema you already defined, right? So it saves you a lot of the time rewriting things. The suggestion we're seeing here says, what if we just make sure to explicitly define a form schema type instead of using the infer call on line 57?
Okay.
Ooh,
Okay.
let's see if that makes a difference. It might. So I would say on line 56, you can
Yeah.
paste the type form schema line.
Like a new
This one right here.
Exactly, just that part. Yeah. Good. And then, yep, and now you're replacing exactly on line 60, we've replaced the z.infer with this form schema that you just defined on line 58. You know what? And now we didn't take all of its suggestions yet, but just try building this. Save that and build. Let's see if that made all the difference. I
So
don't
should I do npm install again or
know. You only
directly
have to do
npm?
that once just to make sure that, yeah, your local packages are up to date. So now we
Okay.
can do npm run build. I don't think this is going to solve the problem because the problem is in the component name, but this gives us a place to start.
It's funny that it's breaking in this way, like, you know, in the is this the I guess the build phase?
It is, and this is the best way to debug, right? When you build your project, maybe you've been running it in dev mode and errors like this aren't appearing. Everything seems to be working, but this is the step where you make sure that type bugs are found. Okay, so we didn't fix it yet, but that's not too surprising. You can close the terminal again.
Is it the same error?
Yeah.
It is, yeah, because we haven't yet gone with the full solution. So now there's this comment in the chat suggestion that says in your JSX. Can you make that a little wider so we could just see that whole example?
And Harsha, could you also, yeah, take off your Zoom chat? Is that on your screen, like the Zoom part?
No.
You can't see it.
Uh,
Is it on my screen? Where is that?
I know,
where,
I see it too.
Zoom chat where I
Yeah,
can't
there's like
see
a
my.
Zoom. It's got like a highlighted stuff.
This one. This one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get rid of that, man.
Okay.
Yeah, and then drag it off somewhere. There we go. Yeah, put it. Yeah, there. Perfect. Thanks, man.
And then is that line between the windows draggable in between your code editor and the chat on the right side?
Yeah.
Yeah, make it a little bigger.
Yeah, so we could just see that whole example. No,
No, the
the
other way.
the other way,
Other
so
way.
we can see, I want to see the whole suggestion that, what's it called? The LLM?
Oh, you want the chat to be bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know where it vanished.
Oh man,
Oh.
now it's gone.
But how do you usually get it?
There is a shortcut, but I can't remember it. Uh, but yeah, let me just.
Okay. So yeah, if we can see the full answer to your last question, and let's make that bigger. Yeah, okay. So we've already done the first part of the suggestion on line 58, and then we are using a form with that type, which is all well and good. But this thing says, what if you try form with types? Let's try that. Okay, so under the form, yeah, on line 67, add that new line that says const form with types equals form. And then on line, it's not going to be 176 anymore, but the line where the error was actually coming from down in the UI. There. The capital F form is now going to be form with types.
There we go.
And you might have to go find the closing bracket for form and change it to that name as well.
A little farther down. Yeah, you can just follow that line from form with types.
Yeah.
There it is. 209. Yeah.
All right. The reason I'm optimistic about this is it was a type error that we were getting. So let's build again. Let's see if it works.
Is everyone else familiar with this stuff? Like how is everybody, are people following along? Are they, you can let me know in the chat or come off mute. Because it's still, I don't know. I don't know if it's comfortable to me. Yeah, this Alberta says that he's not personally, he's says I'm personally not so familiar.
All right.
This is the chain.
But why
Yeah,
is
man.
it still saying form on 176 line? We changed it, no? Did I not save it? Like,
No, it's saved. Now can you copy the original repo locally and see if the same error happens?
no, so just git pull.
No, so go down to your terminal
Uh-huh.
and let's do a cd dot dot to move up one directory and then make directory mkdir and let's just call it test or something. And then cd into that new test directory. Then jump to your web browser and go to the Gimbalabs GitHub and let's copy the original repo. I just want to see if the same build error happens.
Oh man, you're nuking it from space. You're nuking it from
Yeah,
atmosphere.
we have to find out if because it might be just the version of npm or TypeScript that like
Right.
Harsha might have an upgraded version and we're going to see that error wherever we go. Or it might be coming from the clone he's using. Oh, and that's Sebastian's. That one might be a little older.
Oh,
So yeah,
Oh,
go to
oh,
the
okay.
GitHub
found it.
repo. And there's a
Uh,
blue code button over on the right side. And
That's got to
you
be.
just copy the HTTPS right there. Yeah. And now go back to your terminal and run git clone paste. Or paste, sorry, paste. Yeah, delete the word paste, sorry. All right, clone that guy. We'll CD into there. CD PPBL and then just press tab. And then
Oh,
npm install.
right. So,
Now we pull down all the packages.
yep. I'm sort of glad that everybody's not talking over you because it would be chaotic in here. But for whatever reason, I'm doing it. So
If we were all together in a room, we'd all be talking over each other. It'd be wonderful. That's how it should be. But we're doing
bravo.
the best here on Zoom. Thanks. I hope we all get to do this in person together someday.
Oh my goodness, wouldn't that be great? So that was a juicy clue with because it was, and that really needs to go on the backlog of we can fix that right away. Get that repo pointed to the right one.
Bingo. And here I have an update on that. Oh, this is building. All right, moment of truth here. Now we find if it's local packages or the repo itself.
Oh, cue the oh.
Yep, you see, so we got the green check next to linting and checking types. So that means we got past it this
Think we
time.
got past it, yeah.
So there's something maybe out of date in the repo you pulled. You can create a new fork, Harsha.
Yeah. I can do that.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
I think it'll run this time.
It's not satisfying because we didn't find the actual error. But sometimes this is just a more sane approach if repos are out of date and if you want to like search through everything that's happened. Um, it can be hard to go back in time like that.
Yeah, it did open. Okay. Um, yeah, I'll fork that and I'll restart this thing.
Now that we did this, can you at least show us? Let's look at what this component is on the page. So if you now run npm run start, it'll be running locally. And just so everybody knows, now you can navigate to a browser. We can look at localhost and let's find this Mint PPBL 2024 token. Yeah, Newman. So anytime you can just directly clone a repo, like we just did with the Gimbalabs copy of PPBL 2024 front end.
Okay.
But what Harsha demonstrated is that a different option is you can first create a fork of the repo into your own GitHub account, where then it's yours to just change however you want to.
Okay, so there's a difference between cloning it and forking it.
Yeah,
And what
cloning,
we
you'll
just
follow the original. Fork, you're completely free to go off in your own direction.
Okay. Okay.
And so this should be in the live examples. And what we were just troubleshooting is the very first component that's going to show up on the page if Harsha connects a pre-prod wallet. Do you have pre-prod in this browser?
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks good. So there's the form. The form we were just talking about is this one, where you write the name you want on your token.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
this is an example that's used throughout the course. So Harsha is now viewing the example that was first introduced from the front end perspective at the very beginning of the course. But then in module 201, we actually show you how to build this component. And then you can play around with it and try to build other things. Does anybody have any questions about the source code or this example? Or Harsha, how you feeling about this?
Feeling pretty good here.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
yeah, the fun fact is I'm just discovering TypeScript can be used for front end. I think it's just nice to know. Is TypeScript is used for the front end, right?
it is. Yeah, it's really a full stack language. And Personally, I love TypeScript. I like that I can write some server-side functions and some front-end code at the same time. And I can have all of my types compatible across that, right? Like, it's a very common experience for me as a developer to run npm run build like Harsha was just doing and see all sorts of errors the first time I run it. And I love that because that means I'm going to go and fix each one of them one by one before I try to deploy any of that code. Um, some people don't love TypeScript because it's not really the best at anything. That's kind of the trade-off.
Oh,
You get this nice language where you can go from the server side to the front end side with a framework like React, for example. But there are better options for writing server side code than TypeScript, and there are more refined options like for building iOS apps, for example. Um, yeah, but
yeah,
I find it's a good place to start.
yeah. Yeah, sorry, one more question. React is also used for the server side, right? Like except of the front end, it can also be used for the back end, right? I don't know if that's what you mean by that.
Great question. Well, that question might launch us back into the conversation that Harsha and Newman and I started last week. We had a pretty quiet day at Live Coding, so we were looking at a few things together. Would you guys be okay with recapping the Create T3 app conversation, and then maybe we can talk about the Asteria proposal a little bit?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Um,
Newman, do you want to share screen and navigate, or should I take that?
yeah, I can. Let me share screen, and then yeah, we'll see what we can. Well, I'm actually on. I can do it. I can do it. Hold on. Let's see what we got. So this is my whole screen.
Seb, thanks for the LinkedIn message. I'm glad that helped people. It's really nice. Um, yeah, and if you just navigate to that Create T3 app website, we can start there because that'll give us a way to answer Emmanuel's question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm on like. Let's see what we got. There it is.
And we spent a few minutes talking a little bit down the page about those 6 components of T3 app.
No, I'm
And
gonna
so,
try to get all this stuff out of the way for you. Can you see everything?
yep, yeah, we see the T3 site.
Okay, yeah. So down here in the, oh, wait a minute. It's probably just scroll down. Yeah, this is what we like
Yeah, yeah.
these components. You see TypeScript there. Um, the Next.js is I guess React is similar to React, but it's not.
It's built upon React.
Okay, okay. And then this is the stack, if you will. This is what would all be in your dependencies in your package JSON in your front end. Um, we talked about this Prisma as like the database, and it's kind of like GraphQL and other stuff.
Prisma allows you to describe your database in one document.
Wow, wow.
And then there's good old Tailwind CSS, which is like a shortcutted CSS, or it's a processor for CSS, so you can give it little shortcuts. You don't have to learn the sort of real finicky commands of CSS. They've got a process for doing that, and that's strictly front end. The TRPC, now that has to do with like endpoints and API. It says if your front end and back end are TypeScript, it's really hard to beat the developer experience of RPC, kind of like GraphQL, but without the work. We went into this one a little bit, but also in my brain file it just says,
Yeah.
API.
Well, this really gets us to the answer to Emmanuel's question, though. He asked about if React was a front end and kind of back end framework. And the answer is no. Okay, so React is what you use to build your front end components.
Right.
Most of what you'll see in React are, number one, ways to build reusable visual components that show up in the UI. And two, there's a lot of really interesting concepts in React, but one of the most important is that of hooks. And what a hook is it gives you a way for your visual components to listen to data as it changes and then to update in the UI. And you can imagine how helpful a hook would be because that's what we expect our applications to do, right? I press a button, something happens, the UI changes. That's what React is optimized for. But the backend code that's actually processing the data that's changing, that's not written in React. That's just going to be written in TypeScript. But as you can see, that's why we have this stack right here. Those back-end pieces and those front-end React components can share the same types. And the reason that's nice is that when you're building a front-end component, you say, okay, well, I'm building a form that has a name and an address and a phone number field, right? That's let's call that my user, right? A user has a name, an address, and a phone number. On the TypeScript side in my database, I might want to create a type for the user that has those same three fields. And then if I try to create a component that has a different field, I'll get an error similar to the one that Harsha was just seeing. That says, hey, you're trying to add email address to this user type. That's not defined in your database or in your types. You should check that out before going any further.
Yeah. I guess it's not. Yeah. Thanks, man.
You know it.
Yeah, sort
Little by
of.
little, like the TRPC part, we will look at that together, and that's the magic of what we're starting to talk about with the Asteria project. But sorry, Newman.
Well, I was just, the thing about it is that it aligns, like TypeScript helps us to align basically everything in there. Even within the front end, like all those schemas, all those, components and things that need, that they're so that they don't break. It's sort of a way of saying, hey, this could have broken in a weird way later on. It's like a filter that says, okay, I'm checking all this because you set it up to be more specific, strongly typed, so that you say this variable has to be this, and I can see the benefit of that, and I'd always assumed that was like a Haskell thing, or these other typed languages.
It's very natural, right, to go from Haskell to TypeScript because they are both typed. Whereas going from Haskell to JavaScript, which really doesn't care about your data structures until you get an error, you don't understand where it comes from. That's not great, right?
Right. And I do. There's two things that I wouldn't mind, and we got some time. The on-chain and off-chain portions. That may go take us back into the other thing. Because there's no this says it just right. Where here, like in this, if we were to add another block for create T3 for block Cardano development, like what would the block be here? Would it be Aiken? Would it be?
Yeah, cool. Okay. And that's a question that we could answer. That could be a question that we set out to answer by working on an application.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly. Because
there would be like an Aiken part, and maybe there like mesh, right? Ideally, you would have, I think it would be 8 things to have a full stack Cardano development experience. You can have a T3 app with Aiken and mesh, and those would be the 8.
okay, okay.
Now,
Now,
understanding why we need both, that's the project that I think we can start. Should we just start?
yeah. So this is what and
It's going to be
some what we did, and I was like looking around, and the very first thing. I mean, who would not want to spend?
Three
This is
hours
like
with that guy.
I think it's been over 8 years. This dude, and I love that it's like fully chapterized.
Yeah.
Oh man, and for years. That's sort of where I was. I was like, okay, I'm going to try to find 3 hours to go through this, and it will, you know, I mean, it teaches you like all those tools, like all the like Next.js, TypeScript, Tailwind, all these sort of things is all sort of handled as he goes through this tutorial. I don't know what they build, but there's something. Yeah,
I
so
forget
that's
what
sort
they
of
build in this one, but yeah, that might be. Do they do a Twitter clone? Or,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, am I hearing that like if we finish this Asteria project, you'll give us a 3-hour video like this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna get my. Yeah, no, absolutely not. Because once I finish the Asteria project, I'll be on a whole nother level. I have no real. I don't want to build this thing. We're hoping that you will. You'll be you. That's you right there.
Okay, so to look at where these other components fit in, can you open up GitHub and let's go to the PPBL 2024 front end that Harsha was just showing us? Because the PPBL 2024 front end is a T3 app.
Aha. Okay.
So the first thing I would love for you to see is just instead of searching, there's a repos tab right next to overview, and it should be one of the top ones, the fourth one.
Front end.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so taking this one piece at a time, let's jump into the source directory, then the server directory, and then
What's this? Why is it server/API? Is it?
this is where all your TRPC stuff lives, is in the server API directory.
Ah, I see. So there's two directories. This directory only has one, so they sort of shorten it by. Okay.
Because you might build other server stuff and it gives you that flexibility, but the default path for all of your TRPC stuff out of the box in T3 is that you have this server API directory, and it looks
Okay.
like this. You've got a root file, which is just going to be like your table of contents. Let's look at that one first.
Okay. So this looks pretty familiar. There's a bunch of import statements. What are they importing? Post router from that same folder that we were just in. Server API. Okay, there's our TRPC. Okay. And then what's down here? So there's a bunch of imports and a bunch of exports. So now they're going to export out app router. They're exporting the type, which is a TypeScript thing, I think. And another export called create caller. Create caller factory. That sounds cool. All right.
And so this file is only changed a little bit from the default T3 settings.
Okay.
On lines 1 and 13, I didn't even delete the default post structure. I just left it there so you could situate yourself comparing this to the regular T3 app. But if we were building a real application, we would delete lines 1 and 13 because we're not using their default settings. We're building our own thing, right?
Right.
Then
But
we add 3 new things, 14, 15, and 16.
okay.
Right? These are the custom routers that are written into this project, and each of them demonstrates a different thing. The PPBL 2024 token mint is the router under the hood of the form Harsha was just showing us.
Right.
Right? That's for a minting transaction, which is kind of interesting. Okay. Then on line 15, we have the faucet router, which is an example of how to build a TRPC router that interacts with a smart contract.
Faucet router. Okay.
And on line 16, we have our reference tokens router. This is an example of how to query on-chain data and repackage it so it can be used in your UI. The UI, I'm saying user interface, right? The app that the end user is touching on their phone or on their screen.
Okay. Okay.
Let's
got a
look at
little
each
bit.
of those one by, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I feel like I should know what RPC is. So these are going to be TRPC routers. So and in my mind, it's the TRPC is sort of a conduit or the way we get into the back end. So basically, and this might get to Emmanuel's thing, like these are the connection front end to back end. And the back end in this case would be chain or off chain and on chain. Is that somewhere close? Or where?
Maybe I don't know if this would be exact. Like maybe the TRPC is like the connector of it calls the front end to the back end of the TypeScript.
Exactly.
I don't know if okay.
That's what the RPC is, right? Remote procedure call. Remote from, what does that mean? Right from elsewhere. It's remote from wherever I'm calling it from.
Oh,
And the T is for TypeScript.
Okay.
Right? So this is the magic that gives us the ability to share code between front end and back end. Okay? And we'll connect that to UTXO RPC later, but suffice to say that this idea of an RPC is what allows different pieces of an application or even different applications to talk to each other. Notice as well that create TRPC router is imported at the top of the file. From where?
create TCP router from
Right.
from the API.
So we're provided with this TRPC folder. Remember, we navigated into server API. We didn't look at the trpc.ts file.
Check it out now.
Yep. And in this case, this is unchanged. Look at the comment on line 2. Right? In this case, we're just taking what T3 gives us. And yes, you can edit this later as you're really taking ownership of your application, but you might not ever have to. And this is just, right? There's the definition of create caller factory, the definition of create TRPC router. It's all here. And to get started, all you really need to know is this is kind of the magic plumbing that makes everything else a little bit easier.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
And you can imagine you don't want to rewrite this every time. If this works, you just use it.
Like now. Oh, okay. Now I'm in the routers. Oh, and these are the ones. Yeah. Okay. So this is where we want to check out next, I think.
Right. These are the custom routers in this project.
Which one do you want to check out first?
How about the PPBL 2024 token mint? Because we saw the front end a little while ago.
Yeah. Okay. Import statements. Working with this
Two
format.
libraries, right? There's two libraries that we're relying on, Mesh and Zod.
Okay. Oh, okay. So here's the from Mesh. So all this comes from Mesh. The type and the app wallet. These native scripts, which is a type, Maestro provider, Forge script, asset, which is a type, and app wallet all come from there. The Mesh SDK core. And then importing also Z from Zod, or yeah, this is the Zod stuff, the schema things. And then also create TRPC router and public procedure from our TRPC stuff. And then a little utility, a hex to string, and we've seen that one quite a bit. Okay. And then some functions.
So this is the first really interesting part where we're starting to think about what an on-chain interaction might look like. And this example demonstrates something really important. It's possible to have an application sign a transaction.
Yeah, hold on. I was trying to go full screen. Hold on. Yeah, it's all good.
You could tap the raw button.
Still, that makes it small though.
Okay.
There we go. It's just TV. That's better.
That's nice. Thanks.
Yeah.
So line
Okay.
21. Yeah. Look at line 21. This is getting a private key. I just want to emphasize that. Somewhere in this application, we are storing something that has power equal to the power of your seed phrase, your mnemonics. Mnemonics are just one way to represent a signing key, and we all know that it's a good idea to keep those a secret, to keep them protected. But they're not the only representation of a signing key, right? It can also just be a string of characters. And in order to allow our application to sign a transaction that allows you to mint your PPBL 2020 token, we had to pull those sensitive keys in somehow.
Okay. And it looks like it's this get env, get environment.
Yeah. Okay. So there's
yeah. So, I mean, this is a very small, it's a constant, but it basically is it's a function. What do you call that? Is this get minting signing key? I mean, we're going to use that name somewhere in the React code, somewhere in the code, and it's just going to say get environment. It's just going to get. Oh, I see what it means. It means that we're going to pass this in. That's the special part. Yeah. Now okay? Yeah.
Well, so this is all our TypeScript stuff. So first of all, we're not using the word function on line 21, but this is a function. We say export const. The const is this function called get minting signing key. And we know it's a function because it says equals and then those parentheses right there. Okay. Now, what does the function return? It returns a string.
Okay. Okay.
And then
And it's,
inside curly brackets, we have all the logic of the function, which in this case is only its return statement. Give us that string. Now, we would expect that getEnv also gives us a string if this function is going to return a string, right?
right.
So where is that defined?
Uh, hmm. It's not in here. No, it would be in one of these imported things.
Down a
Maybe.
little bit,
Oh,
line 13.
13. Oh, ha ha ha. It's right there. Okay.
And so look at this function, same structure, but inside the parentheses, this time we're taking a parameter. What's the parameter called? It's called key. And what is its type? Oh, it has to be a string. And then if that's our input, our output is also a string. Okay. And so this
Okay.
is kind of a boilerplate get env function just to demonstrate this, but there's other more secure ways to handle this. This is one place to start. And given that the signing key in question is a pre-prod key and not a mainnet key, this is
Yeah.
a safe enough way to show you all how it works. But before you go to production, make sure that you know that your app is secure. And if you need help with that down the road, just ask people on this team. We can help. Okay. But for now, this is enough for us to learn from.
Okay.
Okay. And you might recall right at the end of when Harsha was sharing, he built again or tried to run the app, and we saw that this environment variable was not set, which it wasn't, right? And that's one of the things you learn in module 201 is how to load your own signing key into the app so that you can sign transactions to mint a different version of the PPBL token.
Hmm.
And we can set up the environment file like after we compile the project, right? Like say for example,
I
it's
was
already
actually,
compiled.
yeah, I was surprised it fully built. I would want to look at what's in the environment there, or maybe we just included it. Can Newman, can
Yeah.
you like control click on the name of the repo PPBL 2024 front end? Just we can save this tab, but open an additional one
Ah,
because we want to come right back to here. But if you can show us the Oh yeah, there's a .env example here. Good. Right? So that shouldn't be get ignored. And what you would do is you would make a copy of this file, but rename it to just .env. And if you scroll down, did we give you the right variables? Okay, just the Maestro and Block Frost. Where then? Where? Oh, maybe it's here. Um,
oh, here you go. ENVJS and the no.
that's there. Oh, ha. Excellent.
What's going on?
Oh, I see what we did. Okay, no, no. Wait, no. Hold on. Where is that? Yeah. Okay, it is here. Yeah, I need to update the example environment file because what should be loaded into this file, in order to get it to work, you have to create another like all caps name, just like the two you see on lines 15 and 16. And you would create a new one called minting underscore signing underscore key, which
Right.
is the name of the environment variable that we're looking for. And then you would set that equal to the string that you can find in the .s-key file that you generate with Cardano CLI. And we can demonstrate all of that when there's a good time to do that. Okay, but just to keep following this loop of what happens after you define it, if you switch back to that other tab, basically built into this Next.js project, to oversimplify a little bit, is what we have on line 14, process.env. Okay. And what this says is the process keyword. You don't even have to import that. That's just like a JavaScript keyword. Okay. And you're looking for the .env file, process.env. There it is. And then you're looking for the key that is passed as the parameter. For example, like it is on line 22.
22.
And this is where minting signing key has to match the name of this parameter, this environment variable in your .env file.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So this get env is calling this function. This is real basic stuff, but I'm just saying it out loud. That this is the key. This key string is this key string. When you pass that in, that's this thing. Okay. And then this is going to return as another string that will be this value, and that's going to be process the env of this part. Yeah. Okay.
Whatever variable name, that's where it's passed to the .env file, and it says, okay, in the .env file, find me the minting signing key value, and now that's going to be the value of value.
Right, and since we don't have it down here, it's throwing a record.
Not going to work.
So does .env work like a dictionary with like key value pairs?
Yes, you just have like the key is before the equal sign, right? And the value is after the equal sign.
Got it.
Nice. Last year, Harsha and I were doing the CS50. That's from Harvard. That's a little Gimbalabs side quest, and it was pretty good. A lot of this comes.
So yes.
Yeah.
So you noticed earlier, Newman, that then eventually we're going to use these functions, the ones we wrote on lines 21 and 25.
Right.
And we
Yeah,
use them on lines 29 and 30.
Yeah. 29. Oh, okay. Here we go. So we create this signing key using this, and now we create another one.
And now we just call the function here, but now we save it as the variable minting signing key. That's actually going to be passed, right? And this adds a little bit of security just to abstract that instead of calling it directly.
Okay.
Then we have some fun on-chain stuff. Okay, so lines 32 through 35, now we're using a mesh type native script. This is in the mesh documentation, and you can see that the type native script is imported at the top of the file.
Okay.
According to mesh, a native script needs a couple things. It needs a type, and then depending on the type, some other stuff. But in this case, we're going to give it a key hash, right? And if you've ever minted a token with Cardano CLI with a native script, this might look familiar to you. It's pretty similar to the JSON file we create to mint tokens with Cardano CLI. Now we're just allowing Mesh to help us do that in our TypeScript code.
Okay.
So this is a single signature minting script. We're not going to be cute. We're just going to call it minting script. That's easy.
Right.
And then we do a few things with that minting script. Okay.
So we're looking for this minting script.
Little detour to grab our Maestro provider. We'll talk more about that in just a second. But on line 43, you can see us using another mesh function, forge script. So that's imported at the top of the file as well.
Let's look. There it is.
Right. And this is actually a class that has different methods on it. So forge script has a method called from native script.
Huh. Okay.
And you can find all of that in the mesh docs, or if you open like these files in a code editor, when you mouse over in VS Code.
Yeah.
And if people here don't know about go to definition, let's make sure to look at that next time we're in a code editor together. But you could go take a look at how that's defined. Needless to say, it takes the minting script as its only input, and it gives us what we're going to call a forging script, which is actually just a string of characters.
Okay.
Then it's that forging script that we actually use finally in our TRPC router.
Down here.
Mhm.
Okay.
Talk more about that policy wallet if we get a chance. But for
Yeah,
now,
I was like, what's this juicy bit right here?
yeah,
Okay.
that's where we pull in the private keys. We build the wallet. It's going to sign the transaction. But here's and let's come back to that. But let's look
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
essential pattern of what our router is doing. Right now, we're finally getting to some back end code that helps us interact with the blockchain.
Okay.
The name of this thing on line 55 is the name we imported into our root router. And we saw it in that table of contents.
Right. I could go and look at that, but that'd be fun.
Right? And what is it? Oh, it's a TRPC router. And so we call this create TRPC router function. And I think that parenthesis right there on line 55 takes us to the end of the file. Let's see. Yeah, everything we do the rest of the way is inside of those parentheses that are closed on line 96.
Yeah.
Okay. So what can we do inside of a TRPC router? Remember up above, I mentioned that we had a method on forge script, right? Forge script dot from native script.
Yeah.
We're going to end up with something similar right here.
Oh, look at this.
Nice. Does that take you all the way? That shows you where we're using it elsewhere. Yep.
That's fun. Okay. All right.
What we're going to end up with here is elsewhere in our app, the ability to say PPBL 2024 token mint TX router. By the way, another thing I love about TypeScript is I never have to type all those letters. The way TypeScript works, right, is I type PPBL and then I see my autocomplete options and I just press enter.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to type that and then dot each of these methods defined here. So line 56, line 60, and so on.
Yeah, but now it's happening all the time. Okay.
Right.
Sign and submit. Yeah, and then these are all like
3 methods, right?
okay.
What do I want to do with my token mint router? I want dot forging script so I can get the forging script and pass it around in my code.
Yeah.
I want the existing list of token names so that nobody can double mint a token name.
Uh-huh. And then we've got this await function from Maestro to this must be the policy ID stuff.
This, and you can go to the PPBL website and we can see where this is being used if that's helpful, right? But we're using Maestro. We're saying, give me all the tokens with this policy ID, and then let's check against them, right? Let's either get that list or have the ability to filter over it.
Okay.
And then finally, we
So
need to be able
this
to sign and submit transactions. Sorry, Harsha.
So I was just curious. So in our methods, some methods are directly interacting with the blockchain through our wallet, and others are interacting with third-party indexers like Blockfrost, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct, right?
okay.
Like to get this list, anything that's in your wallet, we already know that information, and Mesh gives us everything we need to pull relevant data from the connected wallet.
Got it, got it.
And this Maestro provider is a mesh script.
It's a mesh. I don't, what's the word to call it? It's a mesh. It's not a component. It's a class, really, right?
Okay.
It provides some methods on it,
Because
like the one we see. Yeah.
Maestro is a thing. Uh, they
Maestro
got
is like Blockfrost,
okay.
a
Okay.
query provider,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
gives you
Yeah.
data, indexed data about the blockchain. And
Right.
actually, in any TypeScript or React or Next.js project, or just a T3 app for that matter, you can create your own queries, right, directly to a Maestro API. But what Mesh does out of the box is it gives you just easier access to some of the most used ones. So we're building on Damio right now. We're able to use Maestro Provider for like 80% of the things we need. But sometimes we need more refined or specialized data, and we have to write our own queries directly to Maestro. But it's not too much different. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
This example shows you how to get started using Mesh. And what I'm hoping is that if you run up against the limits of that, we can always help write like custom queries in a session like this.
Okay.
James, when you said we can write our own queries, does that mean we get like a slightly more raw query and then put filters internally, or can we create custom API endpoints directly to Maestro or Blockfrost?
Okay, so it's sort of both almost. Okay, so one thing is Mesh provides just a subset of what Maestro provides. Okay. It gives you easy access to the easiest stuff. And there's actually an all-purpose query function in Mesh that gives you access to everything, and you can use that if you want to. I tend to like using a library called TanStack use query. We will look at that together once we start building like an Asteria app. The reason I like TanStack is it gives me complete control over the app cache, right? That's that word CACHE. Right?
I'm just screwing around.
Yeah, this is a good thing to know about. Okay, it's if you can imagine this, right? This is why you get like those use cookie messages when you open up an application on the web, right? And this is where GDPR compliance and things come in. But it can be very nice to cache some data so you don't have to keep querying an API over and over again, especially when the data is not changing. Okay. And so use query gives us the ability to query data and then forget about all the caching stuff because it just takes care of it for us.
Hmm. All right. All right. I'm cool.
And then when it comes to custom, Harsha, the second part of your question about custom APIs, you can do all sorts of magic post-processing data from a raw Maestro or Blockfrost query, right? For example, I can say, hey, Maestro, give me all of the transactions that happened at this address. And then in my code, I can take that list of transactions and do any number of things with them to get them into the shape I need them for my front end, right?
Correct.
But other times, I might want to write a query completely independently on my own without even grabbing the Maestro data first. And also that's possible. That's where we would start talking about indexers, writing our own custom indexers, creating like an API that watches the blockchain just for certain kinds of events, and then gives you very fast access to the results of that data.
And you need to be connected to a node at that point when we are doing that?
Yeah,
Or is it like,
you need to be reading the network from somewhere. The Go live, this is where Go really shines. I mentioned earlier in this call that like TypeScript is not best in class for backend code. Go is definitely better. If you're writing pure server-side stuff, you want it to be fast and secure. And so, for example, we talk about like the Go adder library. Adder can listen to the blockchain itself from any number of places, and it makes it really easy for you to listen to just IOG's public nodes, right? So you don't have to have your own node running. You ought to, in production, graduate to that eventually. But if you just want to play with Adder a little bit, it's built in that you can listen and hit right here, right? You can listen to Demeter, you can listen to just a public relay node, and there's some other options.
Look at this. Okay. Yeah, they've got a Demeter space right there.
Yeah, this is another thing we can play with, right? So as we start building a new application, we can start writing, testing, prototyping using TRPC routers. And then at a certain point, we're likely to say to ourselves, hey, wouldn't it be nice to have an instant feed of all of the transactions for a given Asteria game,
Yes,
right?
yes.
We would
Okay.
write an indexer for that problem using Adder, and then we would expose it, and we would just be able to pull in that data very quickly.
Yep. This gets us over to this. I'm just pulling up the Notion to pull up get into our Asteria. And if you're listening and following along, you can pull up our Notion and go to this project that we're talking about, which is an Asteria front end with this T3 app. All this stuff that we're talking about, we want to practice it or have a practical example with this fun Asteria project from the folks at TX Pipe, who are the Demeter folk. And we can, I just wanted to get this into the right. And so we did a little bit of work on it. Okay, but that's why we're working through this T3 app, because this front end will be a T3 app, and we're going to add like all of these fun extra bits like this Go possibly and the Tan stack, because it will be querying, like pulling all that data down from the chain and then working it. And I don't know how you phrased it, James, but making it to where you want it in this in the front end, which is what we'll be doing with this here.
And actually, in the title of that, can we put with T3 app plus mesh, just to like formally, because like Aiken is assumed in Asteria, T3 is the tool we're bringing, and this allows us to build, like going back to your question from like what would we add to the T3 app?
Yeah.
This like say mesh is the key piece here.
and is T3 considered an app or is it more of a framework?
Framework. Yeah, it's
Framework,
the
okay.
T3 app framework for building full stack applications. Yeah. Cool. So we can refine and maybe start to move on this proposal tomorrow, same time, same place.
Oh man, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm just taking little breaks from my Project Catalyst level 2 moderations. And I think the way to do it, we can go through this, and anyone that's listening, they can look through this document. And I think, here are some good links to so you can find out a little bit about this T3 app, which is we've just been going through, but then also the Asteria from TX Pipe. They have a GitHub page. They also, it's from a proposal, and I'm going to add that link in. And you can see how they've been working on it through the milestone portal, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, this would be great, and I'm stoked to get to it tomorrow. That would be fun.
Cool. To give context, I saw WM just asked a question in the chat. I shared the public landing page for all of the Gimbalabs Notion stuff right here in the chat. What we do is we start from this Notion when we meet for open spaces on Thursdays. We start at the same time, 14:30 UTC, and it's the space where we kind of govern the backlog of all the work that Gimbalabs might do. We've approved several projects this way, and the one that Newman and I are talking about right here is another one that we would love to take through the consent process, see if we can get a little funding from Gimbalabs for this, and send it off and running. So yeah, we do the live coding on Wednesdays where we dig into the code a bit. And then governance, same time on Thursdays.
And the governance is where we go through this. This is our dashboard for everything in that zone, and that these are the two that are in this sort of top of frame community review and consent. Basically, we'd like to get the community to look at this and say, hey, this is what we want to do, and then consent to it. And generally, consent means that there's some type of, there's like an ask from the community, basically to task resources, either people or funds, money, ADA to us. And these are the ones that are going on. Here are some that are paused that have been, and then here are the ones that have already been completed. Yeah, I love this. I love this little dashboard.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect today. It's really cool to see new folks showing up, and I appreciate the time to think about Harsh's questions in the front end, to think with Newman out loud about some of this T3 app stuff and where we might go. There's not going to be a live coding session next week. It's a holiday here in the United States, and my kids are off from school, so I'm going to get some quality time with them. If anybody else wants to meet, just say so in the Discord. The Gimbalabs Discord has some rooms where people can just get together anytime. So if you ever want to hack with somebody else, reach out, ping people, jump in there. We'll be back up and running again for all sessions 2 weeks from now, starting with Aiken PBL on Tuesday, December 3rd. That'll be the first session of the Aiken PBL live coding. PPBL will continue at this time on Wednesdays, and then open spaces picking up on December 5th.
Yeah.
WN, what is that for Discord?
No, it looks like it's on Domio. It gets an error.
Let me share a working Discord invitation just in case anybody needs it. Oh, on Domio's side. We don't have everything. Oh, I see. We don't have everything public on Domio yet. We're getting very, very close, and I'll be spending the rest of my day there. But yeah, if anything doesn't work on Domio, hold tight for like a week, and we're going to start pushing some updates out.
Champion.
Oh my gosh, and I just looked at Discord, and it sounds like Chingles has a second baby being born right now.
What?
Is out. Congratulations to Jingles. For anybody who doesn't know, that's the lead developer and founder of Mesh. And he's one of the best. Send a lot of love.
Yeah, he brought me to Gimbalabs.
Oh, good, he did. Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Awesome. His first baby is a really, really fun kid, and I'm excited for him to be a big brother.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, everybody. See you either in 2 weeks for this session or same time tomorrow for open spaces. All the links are on the calendar. Thanks for hanging out.
All right. Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Carry on.
Good times. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Ciao.